What does it mean?
So, courageous service is where you are out there. In my world, the way it manifested itself for me was getting out there and finding people that need help. I had a pivot in 2024, and that caused me to introspect and figure out what I need to do with myself. And I quickly dove into service. There were a lot of things I could have done. I could have gone to go look for another job. I could have gone into pity mode and sulk mode, but I put my heads down and started serving and looking after people as far and wide as I could. That included coaching and mentoring into India, Australia, Venezuela, Bulgaria, Iraq, Botswana, Nigeria, all over the place. And then got involved with startups and helping startups, pre revenue startups. So people that can't afford the services and the time and the knowledge, worked with them to get them going, and that has transitioned into me being in an environment where I'm able to influence things. I've got a really good track record, really good world that's busy spinning up. Two books that have been written. Um, I'm into the AI world, into the advisory business coaching world, and individuals. So it's been a fantastic journey, fantastic learning experience.
Fantastic indeed. Fantastic, Mr. Andrew. And tell us, how do you define that comfortable stage, and what are the telltale signs that it's time to move beyond it?
So comfortable is where you're in a decent job, you're enjoying it. It's not the perfect job or is the perfect job. You're earning a fairly decent salary, not a perfect salary or definitely a perfect salary, but it's in a place where you kind of, what you have around you is comfortable and there is no reason for you to poke the bear or scratch the walls or to do anything. And you go to work and you do your work, whether you're hybrid or remote, or in office. You do your work, you get done for the day, and you carry on with life. And tomorrow you do the same, and so it continues. So that's comfortable. Where things, you got a fairly good deal around you, it's going okay, and there's no real reason for you to lift your head and to raise any feathers or to cause any friction. The sign of when you need to start doing things is as soon as you get into an environment that you have a decent job, an income, things are working. My recommendation is keep networking, keep building, keep engaging, keep reaching out, keep contacting people, keep exploring and expanding yourself so that when you do get, whether it's in 3 months' time or 6 years' time, when you do get to that point, the time that you've been in that comfortable position, you have held yourself accountable to reaching out, to meeting people, to networking, to engaging with people that you would never have met before, to be interested and intrigued by other verticals that are on the go, other technologies that are coming through, skilled yourself up on AI, learned more, figure out how you can leverage AI to maximize yourself, your team, your company, and set a target to say if what is your target career that you're after? What's the target position? And figure out who and where you need to meet so that you start growing in that direction and you start getting going. If failing to do so, you it's not a bad thing at all. You will just end up in a relatively similar place, following somebody else's dream or instructions, and eventually you will get to the Dear Johnny letter where somebody says, sorry, but we need to part ways. And at that point, you need to decide, that if you have allowed yourself to be comfortable and not looked after your career, then you get to a point of scrambling and trying to figure out what you do with yourself. So my recommendation is, when you are comfortable, right now, today, and that's most of working people, whether you like your work or not, just start networking, start reaching out, start engaging with people.
Start engaging to everyone. Networking people. So, what is the most common fear or limiting belief that holds talented service providers back from even considering scale? And how do you help them overcome it, Mr. Andrew?
So fear of change, I would say, is there. I think people also get comfortable. They don't like absorbing and doing things differently. And when we get comfortable in our job and we've been there for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years, there's a sense of doubt that we are valuable and can step in and do other things. And for each person in each of those scenarios that we've painted, there's a different way to help that person overcome their own inner challenge and get their mindset right so that they can start progressing themselves forward. So it's about understanding that human being and helping that person open their eyes. If you don't have a mentor or a coach that you're working with, then I encourage you tomorrow morning when you wake up, go stand in front of the mirror and say, where would I be? Where do I want to be in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 6 years' time? What position, what skill, married, AI, your own company, change company, manager, reporting line change, and then start putting an action plan in place to say, how do I start informing or educating and or networking? Who do I need to meet to go and figure out how do I get into that position that I want to? But I think if you don't have a mentor and a coach that's going to hold yourself accountable, there's no one better than your mirror. You just have to decide that you want to do something.
What does courage specifically look like in action for
Oh,
entrepreneur in the early days of this transaction, Mr. Andrew?
yeah, for everyone is different, eh?
Yes.
Courage looks like courage is you looking in the mirror, whether you have a coach, mentor, advisor or not, and looking in the mirror and saying, I'm going to do something that I've not done before. I'm going to pick the phone up, or I'm going to go to a networking event, or I'm going to do a course, or I'm going to read a book, or I'm going to go and meet somebody for coffee. It's doing something that you've not done before, something that you've always avoided. Because, meeting people, strangers, trying to figure out what to do with tomorrow and where you want to be in 6 years' time is hard. It's really, really hard. Um, so courage has very many faces. They could be work, they could be personal, they could be communication, they could be skills, they could be imposter syndrome. I mean, there's so many faces that courage and fear can carry. And the key is, when you wake up, I get to see this pretty face in the morning. When you wake up and you go stand in front of the mirror, just you have the best challenge you have for yourself is to hold yourself accountable. It is yourself. Um, just drive in and push. Just and start small. It, Start very small. Start reaching out to one person a day, whether that's on LinkedIn or email or at a coffee shop, whatever. Just start with one person, and when you've got that going, then wake up 15 minutes early and just slowly take things on. And then when you've got that going as a routine, wake up half an hour earlier. And when you've got that going, start writing a book, start writing blogs, start pushing the envelope. And it's not about New Year's resolutions. It's about understanding where you want to be in 3, 4, 5, 6 years time, and what do you have to do today to help you get there. Because in the absence of you knowing where you're going, you're just living somebody else's path. Again, not a bad thing, but then you must find the other pieces inside of that create inspiration, hunger, and how you address challenges, and where you find your own courage to figure out how you learn and grow within the environment that you're at.
How does the fundamental definition of value have the change when moving from trading one's own time for money to building a scalable entity?
So the most precious commodity we have is time. And we trade that away for money, for gifts, for knowledge, for insights. The most precious commodity we have is time. So it's really important that as you spend your time, whether it's watching TV or playing computer games or surfing the web or playing with and debating with AI, or learning AI or learning a new skill, learning how to become a plumber or a welder, it's really important that you leverage that time to maximum value. So, again, understanding where you want to go and why you want to get there, what your end outcome is, then have honest discussions with yourself to say, is this the most valuable use of my time? And it may not be monetarily, it may not be to receive money, it may be learning, it may be growing, it may be serving, it may be helping people. Is this the most valuable use of my time right now today? What is the end game? What are you working towards? And if you're not using that, if you can't be honest with yourself, and if you're honest with yourself and you say this time what I'm doing is not valuable, then change it. It's in your hands. Figure out how you change it and figure out match it to where your objective is, where you're trying to get to, and start re-engineering how you spend your time, so that every minute that you spend is valuable, it's relevant, it's important, it's impactful, it's changing you, it's changing other people.
For sure, it will change other people, Mr. Andrew, and thank you so much for sharing to the world on strategy and systemic shift. What is the first most critical system a service professional must build or automate to create the brand with needed to even think about scaling?
The first system that they need to automate, so systems and processes, gosh, revenue generation. Don't get tied up in the operational specialities and the contracts and the back end work. You got to figure out how you create, how and where you're going to source leads from, and how you're going to convert leads and opportunities into money, into value. How do you convert them? How do you find them, and how do you convert them? That's the very first thing you should be doing, in moving yourself forward. Outside of that, take a look at what you're doing, and it's highly probable that what you're doing can be augmented, supported by, serviced by, done by AI, and figure out how you leverage AI to scale yourself. How do you maximize the technologies to take 5 minutes of your day and turn that into 60 minutes? Because you can get more done in the 5 minutes by using technology smartly and get out of transactional thinking. We've been taught, because of Google and Yahoo and Alta Vista and all those search engines, we've been taught to think transactionally. And with AI, you have to think differently. You have to introduce and bring in all your critical thinking and your creative thinking into the picture to help leverage AI correctly and smartly to help drive exponential value.
Many try to scale by just working harder or hiring clones of themselves. Mr. Andrew, what's better, more sustainable model for building a service company versus a personal service practice?
Um, AI, and figuring out how you leverage AI to scale yourself, and make sure that everyone you're on board, you're an AI first company, you're an AI enabling company. Even if you're not selling AI, but using AI as an AI first discipline, the pace, the scalability that it brings you is fascinating. From a targeted market, the same old business rules are true: is find something that somebody else needs or is not doing, and or is not doing, and go fill that gap. Um, in this world of post COVID, of AI, personal relationships are everything. People meeting people, cold emails and that are really difficult to get business out of. So make sure that the workforce you bring on board, your sales engine, knows what they're doing in terms of being able to find opportunities to draw people in, and scale your services. There's a lot of AI tech out there today that will maximize your throughput and value options that you're able to offer to your customers. Your profit margins should go up because the pace at which you're able to turn things around, and your credibility is going to go through the roof because you're leveraging the technology smarter. There was an article published, I think it was yesterday, where the smaller consulting companies, or service companies, knowledge worker companies, sub 35 people, are taking business away from the larger companies, the McKinseys and the Accentures, because they've learned how to maximize AI and tying AI into everything that they do, and making sure that everyone they bring on board in the company is completely AI enabled.
Mr. Andrew, where do most people waste precious time and resources when they first attempt to scale? What the classic false start you see?
Operational stuff, operationals, websites, trying to make things look sexy, and where they should be focusing on relationships, and finding deals. You quickly find that the decision makers, the owners, or the CEOs, focus down on things that need to be done in the company, and they spend a lot of time on it. And what they do is sacrifice sales and revenue creation time. They don't get into the field and go find opportunities. So operations is a very deep trap. Product, perfecting product. So the old 80/20 rule. Your customers are going to buy something that they experience and perceive to be valuable, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a 100% working product in your mind. It's a product that the consumer enjoys and experiences. From a service point of view, Um, Networking for the sake of networking is not a good idea. You got to make sure that there's value outcome and the right places that you network. So I think those would be the common places that a lot of time gets drawn into, networking and feeling valuable, talking and feeling like you're making a difference, chasing operational stuff. And then as the business owner and all the sales environment that's revenue focused is being involved in too much of what's going on in the company versus finding the opportunities that draw revenue, because the revenue is what's going to drive your scale. And the problem you want to have is you have more deals coming in than you can service through either people or product, because that's a great problem to have. When you focus too much of inside the company operations, it typically is you have more operational costs than you have revenue coming in.
Indeed, Mr. Andrew, on the team leadership and letting go. Letting go of a control and delegating client to work in a huge or hits a huge hurdle. What is your framework for deciding what to hand off first and how to do without sacrificing quality?
Yeah, so I wrote a book that covers a lot of this topic called Leading Magnanimously, and that the answer to that question doesn't arrive at when you close the deal. The answer to that question is as you're hiring the person. And then once you've hired the right person with the right characteristics and the right critical thinking, and you've enabled them correctly, and you've taught them the base fundamentals of your company and your method and your approach and why you're doing what you're doing, then you get into the delivery. And if you've done all of the previous activities right, then your delivery should run as expected, and you should not need to get involved in it. And it should get to a point that you have successful delivery. If you are not paying a lot of time and energy and attention to who you hire, and you're not spending the time to help people become autonomous and to help them grow, help them become self-reliant, help them to think critically, then you will inevitably end up having to be involved in the implementation. So if you have hired incorrectly and you realize that, then move people on as quickly as you can. And if you've hired correctly, but the people are not yet in the right mental state or able to deliver autonomously and without you being involved, then today, right now, before that those deals happen, make sure you read a book like Leading Magnanimously and start practicing those behaviors so you can get the team ready and the people around you ready to actually focus on the delivery and getting stuff done. Otherwise, you just end up chasing your tail. You will end up, if not being involved in the delivery, you'll end up being involved to fix the delivery that went wrong. I was coaching another CEO a little while ago, and his goal was to make himself available 60% of his time for engagement patching and for delivery work. And I said to him, what would you do with that 60% of your time if you were not delivering? He said, I will probably double my company. So I asked him the question. I said, so why are you delivering? And he said, because I haven't trained the people correctly. So I said to him, so what's your first priority right now? He says, I guess I need to train my people correctly so that I don't have to make myself available for delivery, and I can then focus on doubling and tripling the company.
Interesting facts. Mr. Andrew, will you be my guest on my new podcast, Entrepreneurship 101? And let's talk about business mindset. If you
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And how do you protect and scale the unique culture and client experience that made the comfortable service successful in the first place?
Yeah, so I have a simple approach towards leading people and teams. If you look after your team, protect them, enable them, switch them on, help them be in safe environments, and be comfortable and smart about how they're doing. If you're enabling and switching them on, they will look after your customers. They will just naturally look after your customers, and then your customers will look after your company. So, as a leader, your primary job is one, revenue identification, so find the deals. Two, hire correctly. Three, make sure who you hire, you're coaching and enabling correctly so that your client engagements are successful and that your clients will look after your company. And you do not need to get involved in issue resolution or escalations or patching things that have gone wrong. And that is a lot of work to get your team focused and going in the right direction. It's a lot of energy, but it absolutely pays off around the corner. It pays off in massive dividends when you've created an environment around you that understand your whys, they understand your qualities, your standards, they understand consequence of client escalations, they understand what happens when things go wrong, they understand that they've got to double down and focus on getting the engagement working and moving forward correctly. So they have really good insights on it. So your goal is to get your team to that point, and you can build it from scratch, or you can take an existing team and transform them into that state. So it's not a case of if you don't have it, you're out of luck. You can transform a team, you can put them together and help drive them into a positive state that they're at that point. But it does take energy. It does take in bringing people, focused people into your environment, and or you reading the books like Leading Magnanimously. There are a whole bunch of them that are really good by Brene and Simon Sinek, to read, and then help look after the team, and the team will look after your customers.
Well, thank you for that empowering answer, Mr. Andrew. So, what is your advice on navigating the awkward middle phase where overhead has increased, but the new scale revenue has not fully kicked in yet?
Yeah, that's tough, right? Because you got to focus on how you get your revenue coming. So forward planning, revenue creation, and investor money. And have if you're pulling on investor money, the first thing that you're going to do is, depending on where you are regionally, depends on the investment ecosystem that's around you that you can leverage. Hire smartly, be frugal, leverage friends and family money to get yourself going. Um, be very mindful of what you're spending money on and where you're directing resources into. Monthly subscriptions can become terribly onerous. Be careful of your total operating costs that are in there. Leverage things like ESOP to bring people on board, retention and employee bonuses. Use those to keep people on board, keep your monthly operating costs or salaries as low as you can until you've hit that inflection point. So be smart about how you're managing cash, how you're sourcing cash, and be smart about, as you scale, as you bring people in, be smart about who you hire. Don't just get on a complete hiring frenzy. And if you do get to that point and you need financing, your investment community, your friends and family, to help you get through those cycles. There are other ways to finance your company. There is small business funding, loans, and that you can get out of financial institution and investors, where not necessarily shares are or dilution is taking place, but you're sourcing money from places. Um, but keep your heads down in revenue creation. You got to keep going and don't take your foot off the accelerator, because if you take your foot off the accelerator of the sales and revenue generation because you're comfortable. I was dealing with a company a little while ago. They made probably 12 months worth of runway of revenue, and they took the foot off the accelerator. And 9 months later, that CEO is battling to get their foot back on the accelerator to get the revenue cycle up and running. So just because you've raised the money, just because you're comfortable and you've got a runway of 12 months, do not take your foot off the accelerator. Do not make the unnecessary hires. Keep yourself going until you have a dedicated run rate of revenue coming in.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And Mr. Andrew, if a listeners is inspired but overwhelmed, what is the single focus first step you will tell them to take tomorrow morning? And thank you for that advice.
First step tomorrow morning, if they're overwhelmed, I think just take a breath. Have a look at what your priorities are, what you're working on, how much of what you're doing is not correlated to creating new revenue, to creating net new money, and figure out how you assign those activities to other people in your team. And get your head down, focused on the first step. The most important piece is finding where you're going to source money from, finding leads, opportunities, networking. That's the just get your head focused. And if you're not tied to the creation of revenue, then your very next important is the team dynamics, is working towards creating a team that is switched on, enabled, looking after itself, and is ready for client engagements. But I would, understand your priorities. Make sure you have a priority list in front of you, and stack them in order of revenue impact, of what they're doing in short, medium, long term revenue. But you got to touch things that are scary. You got to put them in front of you, because we get overwhelmed by all the things we're doing, all the pieces we're running, and we have different tools and different priorities, and we've got things that we put on a priority list, and then we've got other things that we do during the day that consume our priorities and our time, that are not on that priority list. So you got to correlate what you're doing to the biggest bang for the buck, to what your company needs right now, where you've got to focus. How do you source? What relationships have you got to develop? What networks have you got to pull on that can help you expand and grow? And what team members have you got that you can leverage? Because remember, you're not alone. You've got a team of people around you that are in your company. And if they're not in your company, there's a group of people in your network that you can leverage to help you move yourself forward. And then if you're still stuck and you're not able to get through that, just get a coach. Just get on a phone call with someone. It could be a long lost friend, a relative, someone you've worked with, or a paid for coach. Just get on and say, these are the things I'm doing and I'm running through, and be honest with yourself and that person. And then have active dialogue around what you're touching and how do you reframe yourself.
Refrain yourself. And Mr. Andrew, to wrap up our discussion for today, ultimately, what becomes possible for the owner, their team, and their clients when the transition is made successfully? What is the true reward for the other side of courage?
Not running the company by yourself, being in a position that you are dispensable, that you've created a structure around you, that the company looks after itself, and you're a part of the management structure and a part of the team that are running and leading the company. You still own it, you're still the decision maker, you're still pressing forward to get things done, but you have a team of people that are helping you get things done. And you are able to maintain relationships both professionally and personally. You're able to go on holiday and enjoy time with your family and actually be on holiday knowing that things are running okay. There's a lot of benefits towards taking a breath and engaging and not trying to do it all yourself. If you try to do it all yourself now on the small things, you will eventually become lonely at the top. You will not have a holiday. You will be out with your family, and your family will be complaining because all you're doing is working. Um, and we all know that entrepreneurs and business owners and decision makers are always working. The key is being able to disconnect yourself in time so that you can actually enjoy life, enjoy the people around you, enjoy the moments, and wake up and want to go to work tomorrow, and not be working at 2 o'clock in the morning and waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Indeed. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, Mr. Andrew. And looking forward for our episode on entrepreneurship 101. And let's talk about business mindset. And can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your book, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so I have a book called Leading Magnanimously. You can find me on andrewbrumme.com, where you can order the book, or go to Amazon or your local bookstore and ask for the book and get it going out there. And if there are speaking opportunities, you have a team of people, local areas, please feel free to reach out at andrewbrumme.com.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Andrew Brumme, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come, more and more empowering business will rise. So, Mr. Andrew, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you.
Monica, people, see you soon.